And now, it's time for Healing from Within with your host, Tony Valen.
Welcome to Healing from Within. I'm your host, Tony Valen. You can contact me, tony@tonyvalen.com, or visit our website, healingfromwithin.net. Follow this show on Twitter, @TVHFW. Before starting the show, here's a message from one of our previous guests.
Hi, this is Carolyn Puckett, here on behalf of Healing from Within on Blog Talk Radio. Miracles with the Ascended Masters. We really are moving into the age of miracles. They will be more present in our lives. Do you hope for miracles in your life? These radio segments will highlight information on how to increase your vibrational energy and accelerate you on your path to manifesting your higher life purposes. That is the path where miracles abound. Question: how do I see and manifest miracles? Answer: Step 1. Clear your mind of monkey mind. Practice stillness of the mind by choosing to let go of repeated and constant thoughts. Eventually, it becomes automatic. In that space, you find peace of mind, and that space is needed for intuition and answers to drop into your conscious awareness. Step 2. Let go of any negative thoughts, emotions, and motivations. Catch yourself. Remember, you are given powers to create with thoughts and feelings. If you are creating negative energies, you're responsible for your creations, and there are consequences for this. It affects you and others. Choose more consciously on how you manifest your future and the future of this world. Stay clear if you catch yourself creating negativity. Ask for forgiveness, feel compassion, and send divine love instead. See everything in the outer world with a neutral mind. Consciously choose higher thoughts instead of reacting. Step 3. Being in neutral mind state in the moment through challenges and chaos raises your vibrational energy. Instead of engaging in negative energy, see things with mercy and compassion and send divine love. This way, you raise your vibrational energy and others. Here is the divine truth. Having a higher vibrational energy allows you to connect with higher vibrational guides and angels. It's when you raise your vibrational energy and have alignment with higher vibrational guides and angels that you experience miracles, both great and small. Again, this is Carolyn Puckett here on behalf of Healing from Within on Blog Talk Radio. You can contact me at blissmyofficialrelease.com.
Joining us on today's show is Teri Lynge. Teri is the Assistant State Director of the Mutual UFO Network. You can learn more about Teri Lynge at mufon.net. Teri, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Teri, let's get started. What is Mutual UFO Network? What is your role in that also?
I'm the Assistant State Director. What the Mutual UFO Network is a group of individuals. We are the scientific study for UFOs for the benefit of humanity. You can find out all about us at MUFON.com. That pretty much would explain anything that you might want to know. But my role is basically overseeing all of our field investigators, creating new awareness in the communities throughout Florida. I travel the whole state of Florida and start new chapters in the different cities. And we have several over in Tampa. I think we've got like 3 in Tampa. And we'd love for you to visit us. You can learn more about us from meetup.com/Florida-MUFON. And all of our addresses for the Tampa Bay area would be there. We also meet in St. Pete, Newport Richey, Safety Harbor. We're really all over from Miami to Pensacola. You know, we're We're a busy group, that's for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like you are busy. So meetup.com/Florida
Dash MUFON.
dash MUFON, MUFON.
That's the acronym for the Mutual UFO Network.
Wonderful. And where is your main office located?
We're in Irvine, California currently. Sometimes that changes. Maybe every 8 to 10 years or so, we'll get a new international director. Our current director is Jan Harzan, which we are so proud to announce. And he is located in Irvine. So that's our the capital right now.
Okay, wonderful. What is ufology?
Ufology is actually, UFO, as you know, is an acronym for the unidentified flying objects. And the subject matter and activities associated with any type of interest in UFOs is actually what ufology is. They've been subject to various investigations over the years, spanning from the 20s to today, by governments, independent groups, scientists, astronauts, really just to name a few. And of course, MUFON. And so that is basically what ufology is. It's the study of the phenomenon of UFOs.
Okay. The website has a tracking or reporting feature. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, are you talking about MUFON.com?
Yes, ma'am. I apologize. Yes.
Okay. That is UFO Stalker, and that's one of them. The other one is, I'm trying to think who exactly is behind it, but it's just basically MUFON. We have a stalker on there too, UFO Stalker, which shows you everything. But there's also, every time somebody logs in, it'll show you where that person is logging in from, and all over the United States, which is really interesting, and beyond. So it just kind of shows you activity. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, and I guess I need to be more specific. So the purpose of the tracking system is for you guys to locate or identify where the reports are coming from. Is that correct?
Yes, because if it's a live report and it's something Star Team would need to be involved in, it's nice to know immediately upon somebody logging in and making that report, if we have to, send out any Star Team members or anything like that. We know exactly where it is and who to send out. And we can talk about that a little more, but that way it targets the specific area, and then we can be watching for it as well. We've got the MAST program, MAST, and that's a program that would connect many different portions of MUFON throughout the United States, and we would all go on and start tracking whatever is being seen. So we're real serious about this. Lots of dedicated volunteers. Lots of dedicated volunteers. Thank you all so very much.
Absolutely. And so I was going to ask you, what determines whether you send out a Star Team or not?
Well, Star Team investigators, are deployed by MUFON when there's been any type of trauma, contact, landing, sighting like that. Usually it's cases 3 and above, because we wouldn't send out Star Team for just a sighting. But if something had landed, or we've got high Geiger readings or something like that, and something's really valid, well, then we're going to deploy our teams to go take a look at that and, begin the investigation.
Very interesting.
It is interesting. It's very, very interesting. And let me just say this while we're on the air. If anybody ever thinks they see something land, don't go running up to it. Usually there's high radiation. There's a lot of problems if you touch something, pick something up. So you really need to be careful, people out there. Please call professionals.
Absolutely. And for our listeners, and me included, what exactly is a high Geiger reading?
Okay, that would be somebody that would have actually a radiation monitor, and they've gone out on the site and said that they're getting, different levels of radiation readings, something like that. Sometimes field investigators will go out before we know that something has a Geiger reading, and they'll they'll do that for us. It just depends who we send and what level of dedication. And like a seasoned field investigator is going to have a go bag, a ready to go bag, whereas someone that's just coming on for the first time and learning will usually go out with somebody else. They won't necessarily know that they need to do all that or get all that equipment. It is an expense that you invest in when you become a field investigator because of all the different electronics that we use, tri-field meters, hazard alert radios, K2 EMF monitors, different multi-test meters to make sure everything's a go, batteries galore, it just seems like they drain whenever you're around anything that's really Star Team worthy.
The MUFON website also has a case management system. Tell me all about that.
The case management system is actually really neat. It's unique to us because of the fact that we are observing all these different sightings that come in, and we're compiling information, and we're creating on the CMS all different types of research and I guess you would just say research about what is being seen. Is it a cigar shape? Is it triangular? Is it a sphere? Is it a fireball? It categorizes everything. And that way we can keep track of what people are seeing in what areas. Like maybe Tampa is seeing fireballs exclusively, or they're seeing cigar-shaped, green sightings or something like that. And this breaks every little thing down and keeps it all categorized so that we can follow the different movements of what's going on out there over the Florida skies or over the United States.
Right. What is from what you've noticed in this area or in the Tampa area, of which the area I'm in, what is the shape that mostly pops up? The shape of the UFO?
Well, it's always between the sphere and the triangle here in this particular area. We do get a lot of it, and I'm not going to say that every single thing that is seen is a UFO. Some things are misidentified, and of course, and then we have people who waste their time hoaxing and wasting our time. Yeah. So there are a lot of different things. There are some sky lanterns that get seen, and people think that those are fireballs, which they are not. They're very impressive, however, and we do get a lot of that here. But I would have to say the sphere as a whole is really what is seen the most, along with triangles in the Tampa Bay area.
Wow. And based on your past investigations, does the shape of the ship also tell you the type of entity you'll be dealing with?
Not necessarily. There's no clarity on that. And after all these years and all the study, there hasn't been a correlation that would definitely say, yes, if you see a triangle, it's a reptilian. If you see a sphere, it's a gray. No, we really don't know, because that technology that they have is, we believe, known by more than one species. So I can't really say yes to that.
Very interesting. Mm-hmm. Can you tell the listeners also, because you also mentioned now different types of entities you've dealt with, reptilians, grays. Can you give us a brief description of each of them, and how many have you encountered?
Personally, I've encountered 3 different types, and really those are the ones I can talk about because I know for a fact they exist. It's not something I'm reading or somebody told me about. I've actually had experiences with what is known as a tall white. And that's a very spindly, tall, thin, ultra thin being with a very long neck, a large head, huge eyes, and no mouth, no nose, no ears. They're very much not like us. And long, spindly arms with 3 fingers and 3 toes. Very different from anything, that exists on this earth. So I'm sure that was an alien that I saw. It was actually the first alien that I saw in St. Petersburg, Florida, on 28th Street North, just near Morris Street. It appeared one night. And then the other one that I've seen is a orange scaly type of entity, similar to a reptilian, but not in the typical odd green that they can be. They've got a real strange green color to the reptilian, which looks like a lizard face, actually. This one that I saw had orange scales, which were very much scales, and they were more lizard face, odd looking, no nose, no mouth. Again, a big head with big eyes, but not as slanted as the tall white. And then I have seen the gray along with a tall white. There was a gray, and that is a completely different look. It is grayish, and they've got a big head. They don't have long necks. They're shorter, much shorter. They're only like 3.5 feet high, so they're like a 4-year-old. They're very tiny. They're thin. None of the ones that I've ever seen have had clothes on, and I've heard people say that they wear clothes or suits. I've never personally seen that. They've just been skinned, even though just their regular skin is what I mean. Right. And the grays just had a regular skin and a bit of a pungent odor. Other than that, there are many other types. There are the ones that look like humans, and a lot of people talk about that. Val Thor, they're called the Goldens, or gosh, I'm at a loss for words. I'm trying to think of one. How bad is that? I'm just thinking so many thoughts I can't hardly even think.
That's okay.
But anyway, there's also like a Bigfoot type of alien being, and a lot of people think that Bigfoot himself is actually an alien, and he could be, because lots of times blue lights are seen in the vicinity of that particular type of sighting, and then all of a sudden a Bigfoot sighting comes up. So there is a chance that is also an alien of sorts. Oh golly, there's 57 different types, so there's so many, and my mind just goes, there are the types that are more almost frightening looking, like almost human entities, almost like a hybrid. Then there's a Nordic. The Palladians and the Anunnakis are different. They're more reptilian looking. So there's so many different types. And again, you can go, anybody could go to MUFON.com and, look up the different types that have been cited. I should have just had my book here with me, and I could have gone right down the line, but it's interesting to take a look at them. There's so many different types.
Yeah, it does sound very interesting. And of all the types, are all of them aggressive, or some of them, or what's the encounter tell you?
I have been told that some are very aggressive, and the most aggressive I have been told is the reptilian. Personally, I have never had any alien extraterrestrial being be aggressive towards me. I have always had pleasant experiences, shocking, obviously. I was definitely in shock and awe of what I was seeing, because it's really, really hard to wrap your mind around that moment while you're standing there seeing something that your mind is telling you shouldn't exist or doesn't exist, but now you're having to face the reality that, oh my gosh, it does exist. And you just don't even know where to put that while you're looking at it. And then you're absorbed in the differentness of that it is so other than you, so completely odd. You're trying to take it all in. So, I've always been in amazement of them. So when I'm standing there and I'm viewing this one on 28th Street North for the first time, I remember just thinking to myself, that is the ugliest thing I have ever seen. And I didn't want to look at it, but I couldn't not look at it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And, it's like you wanted to look at it, but you didn't. And all I could think of is, what is that? I mean, that's what I said out loud. What is that? So it's this process your mind goes through when it's in this bizarre moment of what the heck am I looking at? But they've never been rude to me or mean to me. They've spoken to me through mental telepathy. None of them have mouths because they don't eat like we do. They don't eat what we do. Their systems are incredibly different than ours. Why people say that they demolish people or eat them or whatever, I have no idea where that's coming from. A theory that I have, Tony, would be that I'm non-aggressive towards them. They're non-aggressive towards me.
Right.
And I think if you are in the animal world, if you're aggressive towards something, it's going to be aggressive towards you. But if you ignore it or walk away from it, it will pretty much, do that as well with you. So I think that the people that struggle, and for those listening, if you ever do have this opportunity come into your life, be nice, be humble about it. Don't go running at it. I've heard people say that they shot at it. Well, of course it's going to be aggressive. You're trying to kill it. I mean, if somebody shot at me, I'd either be real aggressive or run like the Dickens, but, doesn't that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. And they probably respond to energy as well. They could probably feel your energy and what you are feeling. And I guess they would also respond to fear.
Absolutely. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
So not just being inquisitive, not negative, but I want to ask you, so why are these reports not in the news? Why does the news ignore them?
Well, this is, again, kind of like my theory. Over the years, since I've been involved with MUFON, the one main theme I've heard is that the general public can't handle this truth. And I would tend to agree when I look at how some people react with their looting and violent behavior. And, we've seen on the news, different things about how people react to things they don't understand or can't handle or don't like. Okay. So they turn into complete 5-year-old idiots and, run rampant. And if all of a sudden somebody told us, if the government disclosed to us that, yeah, aliens are real. And by the way, they're out every night and they probably hover over your home and, take some of your children. I mean, imagine how people would act. Imagine where they would take that. So I would say I tend to agree with the military's thinking on that. On the other hand, I do think it should be a choice we all make. I think it should come along with education, awareness, understanding, preparation. I think we should all be advised, that these things are happening, which is where my passion comes, into play, Tony. I like to be out there. I like to be educating people. That's why I do what I do. It is truly my quest to educate everybody that I can, in the time that I'm here on the earth. My experience have brought my knowledge into view. I am now very open-minded. I was very closed-minded previously. I was a very strong Christian. I didn't believe in this kind of thing. So for me to be the one that these aliens appeared to, I mean, there's humor, okay, because I totally didn't believe in them, and I was not a Trekkie. I was not somebody looking for them. I did not want to know anything about any of them. And there they were.
Yeah.
So why did they choose me, for heaven's sakes, of all the people?
Yeah. And that's very interesting. I can imagine that your acceptance of what you've seen has also opened your mind to acceptance of many other things.
It has.
So that's a good thing that happens. Before, what was I going to ask you? I had a question in my mind and it just slipped.
Hey, I know that feeling.
Oh, yes.
It happened to me just a little bit
I
ago.
remember now.
Okay.
So you have had encounters. Have you guys snapped any pictures or videos of what you've seen? And is that information on your website?
I haven't snapped any pictures in the moment. The first sighting was in 1979, and I didn't even own a camera. The second one was in 2012, and we tried to get the camera, but we were going, it was hovered over Sawgrass Lake, and my son and I saw it. And we tried to get the camera, but we were not able to get the picture. It's crazy as that sounds, it did not show up. The things that I have been able to get, which are not made public, but are in MUFON archives, are the pictures. One night after an abduction, I had slices in my body on the left side, and they were bloodied, but not bleeding. The blood was dry when I woke up, and I was very sore on my left side where these two slits had been. And they went pretty deep. They were pretty sore, but within one day they were completely and totally healed. I have scars there now. I did take pictures of those. Within about less than 6 months, I had the exact same thing happen on the right side of my body, and I did get pictures of those as well. But as far as, being with the entities and having whatever they were doing done to me, I was unconscious, was not able to respond or react or be in control of my faculties so that I could get a picture. And I've been told by a regression therapist, and I must say, I don't really want to say her name, but this regression therapist is probably the best in the United States of America, who actually did my regression with me. She told me that she very firmly believes they were gathering bone marrow from me for whatever reason. But she said this is indicative of bone marrow when they take it, and this is where they would take it. So this is what she truly believes, and they did this twice, from my left side and my right side.
Right.
No idea why they would want it.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely want to ask you a little more about that a little later on, because I do have other questions before we get to that point.
Oh, sure.
I mentioned that you were a Star Team investigator. Can you tell us one of the cases you have been involved in, and what you do as an investigator, the steps?
Okay. Well, this year I was called upon to go to a home here in I believe it was actually Clearwater. It was kind of like in the Largo Clearwater area. And a person had seen an entity in the yard and saw something land and hit a tree. And he said that it knocked some limbs down from the tree, and some tall grass that was there. When the tree branch fell, he picked up the tree branch and then cut the grass near where it had happened. And so I went out, and of course, as a member of the Star Team, I took a field investigator with me, and we showed up with collection bags and different things to collect everything. We had our cameras and the Geiger counter, this type of thing. And what he told me and what I actually found on this particular case was inconcurrent. It ended up that this had happened a couple years earlier, even though the report had said that it had happened, relatively, it led you to believe that it had happened relatively recently. And so that was a little frustrating. So we sent everything off to have it analyzed, and nothing came back concurrent. So we were a little disappointed in that, but that's the one that I've worked on the most recently.
Yeah. For interested listeners who may want to get involved with the organization, can you tell us about the Inner Circle and the e-journal?
Well, the e-journal you would get automatically if you signed up. You could either get the e-journal or a hard copy of the journal, which I would ask people to do, because it's nice to have that journal with you, and then you can share it with somebody. But the e-journal is online, and we have a full color e-journal that is available to anybody who joins MUFON. And to do that and to get that e-journal or the hard copy, you'd go to MUFON.com, and all the information is on our main website.
And for people to become volunteers, what do they do?
To become a volunteer, you would become a field investigator, and you can navigate on that main website at MUFON.com to become a field investigator. And at that point, you would pay the current price for the manual, and a test comes with that manual, which you need to pass. It's an open book test, but it is 100 questions. And there are some tricky questions involved, so you would really have to read the manual. This would have to be something that you would do as long as you had a computer at home and you're knowledgeable on that computer and you can use it, because it plays such a big part in investigating. And once you pass the test, we get you working right away and put you on active cases along with another field investigator who kind of, buddies up with you until you can do the investigating on your own. So it is really a wonderful, wonderful service to provide, but it is voluntary. There is no pay position in MUFON. We are all volunteers.
Okay. And what exactly do the volunteers do? Do they actually go out on the field, or are there other options they can, assist with?
Yes, there are more than one option. Many people who are field investigators will do it from their home, and they will, basically pick up the phone, make a call, or use email to speak with the people and ask their questions. Others who are able, because it's a volunteer army, it's whatever they can do, and we accept everybody. We're looking for help all the time because we are inundated in the state of Florida with sightings. You would go out and meet the people face to face at the place of the sighting, which most it's in their own neighborhood. Sometimes it's out in a park or maybe, out by a beach or something like that. But you would meet them at the site. You would go over all your questions. You would, find the azimuth. You would find, where they saw it, what the latitude and longitude of the sighting was. There's all these different little components that go to the investigative process, and MUFON is really excellent at doing it, and it's all on our CMS.
Got it.
And so, yeah, you would have to navigate a computer very well because you're in the CMS while you're doing all this.
Understand. Now, is there any type of, we went on your website and I was looking at something that said Star Team Boot Camp. Can you tell us about that?
Right, that's an option. It's usually associated with our symposiums, but we also have it ongoing in Texas, and it's put on by the Star Team member, actually, the boot camp, who is our lead investigator and administrator, and his name is Fletcher Gray. And he's excellent, a well-seasoned investigator with MUFON and has been with MUFON for a very long time. He does the training. That information, because the training camps can be in different places, again, you would have to go on the MUFON website to see where it is being offered.
Got it. Now, people that complete the Star Team Boot Camp, do those people end up getting a paid position, or is that volunteer as well?
It's all volunteer. They do not. They pay for the boot camp because it does give you a lot more information than, it's like a Investigators 101 and then some, and it helps you out in the field at what to get, what to purchase. This is like a hobby where you're making a financial investment in it. I know I certainly have, when you consider that the tank of gas is $3.20 something, and I travel the whole state.
Wow. Yeah.
There's an investment in just my gas tank. And then I also have to purchase projectors and screens and materials that are handed out and this sort of thing. So when we go, we do get donations, and whatever donations come in, if they meet the need, great. If they don't, well, great too. We just keep on doing what we do. Well, one thing I will say is you do get a certification. You are a certified field investigator at that point. And believe me, it is well worth the money spent. I really think they should do that in paranormal investigations as well. I think people should take a test and should know, because once a field investigator picks up the phone and joins MUFON, or gets on the internet and joins MUFON, you become a representative of MUFON. And we have expectations and, professional requirements that go along with accepting this position. So it isn't just, looking at it haphazardly. It's a very serious volunteer position.
Yes, it does sound very serious.
Mm-hmm.
This is Tony Valen, Healing from Within. You can contact me, Tony@TonyValen.com. Visit our website, healingfromwithin.net. Follow us on Twitter at TVHFW. We're talking to our guest, Teri Lynge. Teri is Assistant State Director for MUFON, Mutual UFO Network. You can learn more about Teri Lynge at MUFON, MUFON.com. Teri, can you explain to me what an alien abduction is?
Sure. An alien abduction is something that you experience when you are taken, actually, physically out of the home and into a craft, whether you are out of the home to begin with and taken on the craft, or in your home and taken. That is an abduction. There's a lot of variables involved with this, way too many to mention because they're specific to each person. Almost always, you are on a table. There is an exam in process. Mostly, you are not able to fight or to defend yourself in any way because they do take over through a mental process that just seems to subdue you. I have never found it to be horrifying, but it is concerning, that it is against your will. But there's very little that you can actually do about that. And I guess the reason, again, this subject that I've never been hurt is because I'm not fighting. I don't find that anything that they're doing is horrifying, if you know what I mean. I'm not being slashed open or something like that. And let me just address this. The Travis Walton video and some of the other videos that showed all of that goings on, with things going in your eyes and holding your eyelids open and cutting into your stomach and being wrapped in plastics. That was Hollywood, folks. That was not real. Those things do not actually happen on an abduction experience. The worst that is going to happen is that there is usually some form of eggs taken, which means you could have an orgasm. That's about the worst of it, actually, in all truth.
Got it. So you think that the I forgot his name, the gentleman you just mentioned.
Travis Walton.
Yes, Travis Walton. Do you think that was all, and I believe it, do you think it was all Hollywoodized, so to speak?
Oh, I know it was. He's a good friend.
Oh.
Yes, I've spent a lot of time with him just this last year, and I've talked to him many times on the phone. We discussed his book at length. And Enigmatic Anomalies, which I'm a part of, is a production company that we went and spent a week with him just doing interviews, and he went out Sasquatching with Kevin Keel with Enigmatic Anomalies. And he had told us that Hollywood took his story and, stirred it up. And the sad part about it is, Tony, is that the true story was so much more interesting than that ridiculous Hollywood version. It was so much more thought-provoking and amazing on every level. I have no idea why they did what they did. And they cut out some scenes that he said were so hideous, he just was screaming. And he told them that, he tried to take it all back. But once you're involved with Hollywood, they kind of take over. And when he found out that they were going to murder the living daylights out of his true story, he was really upset. And Travis is a very humble and quiet, kind of a introverted soul. And he's about as sweet as the day is long. And he wouldn't hurt a fly. And he's honest. And they seemed to turn him into a dog and pony show through this whole thing. And that just didn't fit his nature. So anytime you see anything where he's actually being interviewed by anybody, and you can go to enigmaticanomalies.com and see where we did a interview with him. The way he is, he's so mild-mannered. He really fought against all of this. And Hollywood just,
Yeah, I believe it.
They just did what they did. So he is in the process of redoing the movie and doing the true version. And believe me, that's going to be worth going to see once it comes out.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you that next because I definitely would be interested in the real story. So are there certain signs people can look for in their own lives to see if they can remember being abducted or...
Oh, absolutely. Regression therapy is wonderful, but you have to be careful in regression therapy. You have to go to somebody very good. The reason being is somebody that isn't good at it could lead you into false thoughts or false scenarios. And so you wouldn't want that to become your new false memory, Right. So you really have to be careful. I went to somebody that was just amazing good, and she is world famous, and I was so blessed to be able to go to her. And the only reason I'm not mentioning her name is because she isn't doing it any longer like that. And I don't want people to, ring her and expect to get through
Yeah.
because she isn't doing it anymore. But anyway, that is the way to do it, through regression therapy.
Yeah.
If you think you've been abducted or if you think you've had an experience. And believe me, there are a lot of people out there who come to the MUFON meetings here in Florida, and they share that, I really think I've been abducted. I've got all these, dreams that come and thoughts that come, and the only way to find out for sure is to go through that process.
Right. And actually that's what I was specifically asking. Dreams are reoccurring dreams of I guess, what would the dreams be of?
Well, it would usually have some type of trauma or fear from like recall memories, where all of a sudden you're just thinking about it, or you remember having some missing time, like you were driving along and you were headed someplace takes 20 minutes, but it was an hour later that you got there and you didn't deviate from your, known path. Maybe you wake up and you've got some possible entry wound on you, something, some big lump that you didn't have, or something like that. Or you're just feeling like you're remembering hearing clicking sounds or strange noises or bright lights in the middle of the night that seem to, you remember waking up from some really bright light and odd noises. These are things that would be like a sign that something is going on.
Yeah. And from your research, are there any specific areas that you would consider hot spots?
Well, the hot spots, according to our database, the CMS, is always California, Florida, Pennsylvania, Texas. Those are the hottest of the hot spots. We're not sure why specifically. We think that there are underground bases, which are known as USOs, in the Gulf or in the Atlantic, or because a lot of the crafts that are seen hovered over water and, like out on the Gulf, that type of thing off the coast in California. There's so many of them that these hotspots are pretty amazing. We're not sure why Texas or Pennsylvania as much, but Pennsylvania really is a hotspot, both paranormally and extraterrestrial sightings, as well as Florida. We have an awful lot of paranormal as well as that, and California, so they're really high. Some of the other states are maybe like Missouri would be more cattle mutilations and things like that, which we also think are extraterrestrial in nature.
Is there anything that we can do to avoid from being abducted?
No, absolutely not. It has absolutely nothing to do with the person. If they want to abduct you, then they will abduct you. And people that have been abducted, what we have found out is it usually runs within a family line, as odd as that sounds. In 1979, with my first abduction, I had missing time, but I didn't know there was such a thing. And I remembered going to my mother's right after it happened. My sighting with the UFO hovered over the railroad tracks there on 28th Street in St. Petersburg. She just lived a minute away. She just lived just down the street from me. So I went to her house, knocked on her door. I thought it was about 2:30. It ended up being almost 4 o'clock in the morning. So I had a 2-hour missing window. But at the time, I didn't know that. So, you can't know something you don't know. But I found out that night after sharing with her what had happened to me that she had also been in a scenario where she had seen UFOs. And she had never told me. Now, at the time, I was 27 years old, and I was shocked that after 27 years, my mother never confided in me to tell me what had happened to her. And here I was, traumatized as the day is long, at 4 a.m. in the morning, knocking on her door because I had to talk to somebody who loved me and knew me. I was really kind of in shock after seeing what I saw. And she said, "It's okay, honey. I've seen them too." So that was, mind-boggling. A few years later, I talked to my stepbrother from my mother's first marriage, who was about 7 years older than me. He told me that he had seen them as well in Miami when he was there, living in Miami. And my son has also seen them with me. So we've been together when one was hovered over Sawgrass Lake right off of I-275 in St. Petersburg, Florida in 2012. You can clearly see my mother, my brother, me, and now my son.
If a person is abducted, what can you tell people after that happens to you?
Well, this is the beautiful thing, and this is the healing portion of this, Tony. The thing is that it's okay. This is a really big universe that we live in, and I've been able to understand it and come to know that they have never hurt me. They have never tried to do anything negative to me. In 2000, I was told that I had to have a surgery to save my life because I had a very serious Crohn's colitis disease, which had completely, eaten away at my large intestine. And the doctors told me, there is no hope for you at this point other than to have a very serious removal of the large intestine and then being what they call a subtotal colectomy, which is being hooked up to your small intestine, which would then take the place of the large intestine. They gave me a lot of options, said I could get a bag, an internal bag and all this. And I interviewed about 18 surgeons. I literally, that's just me. I'm one of these people, got to get to the bottom of everything. And I wanted all of the latest technology and findings. So I went on a hunt for the best surgeon I could find. Little did I know, after going all over the state of Florida and into some of the other Milwaukee and different places, I found the very best surgeon right here in Tampa, at Tampa General Hospital. I won't mention his name, but he's amazing. He really was. He's the one everybody goes to for subtotal colectomies, and he trains them all over the country. And I went to Tampa General and checked in and had the surgery. It was an 8.5-hour surgery, and something in it went wrong. I know there was about 14 fellows that were observing, because that's a teaching hospital there, and I had to come back about 6 weeks after the initial surgery and be reopened to repair what wasn't right. Now that was like probably the worst thing that ever happened to me, is you're partially healed and they've got to recut you in exactly the same place. Yikes. So I went back, and after healing from that second surgery 6 weeks later, I was still in a lot of pain. And to make a long story short and to get to the point, 12 years later, so from 2000 to 2012, I still had pain. And so much so that the surgeon stopped seeing me and was referring me just to a local physician and said there was nothing more that he could do unless we reopened and went back in. And I thought, oh, no. You know, I couldn't do a third surgery.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really difficult. Although I did go back one time and they put all that stuff on you to do the sonogram, you know, like the gel on you. And they saw a very light bleed. They couldn't pinpoint it, but it was there. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, this should heal up on its own. But it was always tender, always sore. If I put, you know, panties on or something like that, sometimes it would actually hurt. And it was just really, really uncomfortable. So for 12 years, I walked around, I worked, but I was better. I was healing, and thank God I was alive, but I had pain on my right side that was never ending. And one night in 2012, I was in bed, and the alien that I told you about with the orange scales appeared at my bedside, and I was wide awake. And the room was dark. My husband was sleeping in the room right there, and this alien extraterrestrial being pulled out, not pulled out, but showed me a long wand type of instrument that he was holding in his hand. And his hand did not have 5 fingers, it had 3. He had a very large head with big eyes, and was very reptilian-ish looking, like kind of lizard-ish looking, but he had orange scales with some yellow and a little white, and you know, something like that. I can't tell you with words. I would almost have to draw a picture of him. You know, he was just ugly. But anyway, he had this long 2-pronged rod in his hand. But the weird thing about it was one of the prongs had like an arrowhead kind of a end to it. But it was almost of like a living flesh. And it looked like it was alive, like it was biologically alive. And it was very long, very thin, but it had this tip on it. The other piece that was on this prong was real thin and wrapped up tight, like in a round circular motion. Let's see, what could I say that would be like that? I don't even know. Like if you were to take a tape measure and see it all wound up real tight, it was like laid flat and real tight, you know. But it also had a weird kind of tip once it was extended, but it was very long, and like a fern kind of like look, you know, wrapped. And it reminded me of a tentacle on an octopus, to be honest with you. It had a very strange yellowish kind of a color to it, but it looked alive. It looked like something that was living. And in this odd, and I know this is going out there on a limb for some listeners perhaps, but I'm telling you the truth. I can only tell the truth, as strange as it is. Sometimes truth is much stranger than fiction. Yeah. But it was inserted into me, and the other piece that was there on that other prong was like going into me as well, but it was attached vaginally to like hold something while the other went way deep inside. And I felt that fern kind of thing, you know, that tape measure kind of thing, wrapping around this area in my upper right, which was killing me. It was very painful. and I could feel it squeezing it tight. And I thought, what is this? And there was a very euphoric kind of a feeling about it, almost like somewhat orgasmal. I'm sorry to tell the truth about that, but that is the truth. A little embarrassing, but nonetheless, it was an odd experience, but not horrible. I didn't know what that wrapping feeling thing was. And then he was gone just very quickly. This only lasted maybe just a few minutes. However, the euphoric feeling lasted a full 9 hours, which was really strange because I was very concerned that something was wrong with me now. And although it was an odd thing, I was aware that this pain in my right side was not there anymore. I was going from having one type of feeling to now another type. It was very confusing to me. There were a couple times I called friends within MUFON and said, should I go to the doctor? Is this going to be okay? And they were like, well, what are you going to say to them in the emergency room? You're having euphoric feelings, and what are they going to do? And I said, exactly. I guess I'm just going to sit here and deal with this. And so I did. Yeah. And 9 hours later, it stopped entirely. And once it did, I had no pain. It was an absolute miraculous type of healing. I, to this minute, do not have pain there, nor have I had pain. This is 2014, so for 2 years, I've been pain-free on that right side after suffering with that for 12 years. So when people say to me, extraterrestrials are horrible and they're mean and they're cruel and they're vicious, I have to disagree. I've been healed. I've had wonderful experiences. And I'm so very grateful for that pain not being there every day. I just can't even begin to tell you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think they're here to help us?
I do. I think if you're open, I think if you're in the right place, they're here to help all of us. Many of the psychics who say they get channeled messages are getting messages of love and encouragement, of treating animals better, of treating the earth better, of treating each other better, of taking care of the earth. They're trying to encourage us to do the right thing. So common sense tells me they're here to help. There are hindrances. Our government's gotten in the way. I understand that there's a underground base in Dulce where there's over 1,000 extraterrestrials there. And is it true? Well, I haven't been there, but you can be sure that I'm going to go to find out. Dulce, New Mexico obviously has this base. It's been talked about by Clifford Stone, by Len Kasten, by Anthony Sanchez, by so many people that have experienced it and been there. No one can really deny it, but our government, I guess, denies that there's extraterrestrials being kept there. But I think they're here to help.
And for people that are looking for other types of help, are there any support groups where abductees can go to, or, at least someone that will take them seriously and help them, and still they can be very discreet?
Absolutely. We have an abduction research team within MUFON. It is headed up by Kathleen Martin. Kathleen is the author of many books. She's also the niece to Benny and Barney Hill, the famous black and white abduction couple up in New Hampshire. She lives right here in Florida, and she does a lot with Florida MUFON. She speaks frequently, but she is the head of the abduction research team, and her and Denise Stoner both work with people who have been abducted, and they hold meetings in Orlando, or it's really kind of Winter Park area. They actually take over an Einstein's Bagel down there. They have a private room, and you can go and get support if you have been abducted and just need to talk about it. Unfortunately, there's not much that can be done about it because it's after the fact, but we can encourage you, and you can be amongst like-minded, without judgment, without fear, and, share what has happened to you and be a part of that community. So it is really, really a wonderful service.
Excellent. Well, Teri, thank you so much for your time and information. We have really learned a lot.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed being here.
Wonderful. Our thanks to Teri Lynge. Teri is the Assistant State Director of MUFON, Mutual UFO Network. You can learn more about Teri Lynge at MUFON.com. You are listening to Healing from Within with Tony Valen here on Blog Talk, airing Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. Visit our website, healingfromwithin.net, or contact me directly, Tony@TonyValen.com. Follow us on Twitter at TVHFW. Love and light from all of us here at Healing From Within.